All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich Chalenza. Thanks for checking out the Rich Chalenza Show. So, what I'm going to call this podcast is Create Your Own Physical Therapy. And the reason I bring this up is because I was recently talking to my mechanic, who, for years on and off, I would talk to him. For some reason, for like 5 or 10 years, I would fall out of touch with him. I have no idea why, but he would work on my car, then he wouldn't. He's actually not close to me. I think that's part of the reason I don't talk to him or use him as much as I should. But for the most part, I've known him since I was in my early 20s. It's been well over 30 years. I used to work out with him at World's Gym. And then he opened a gym, I think called Dungeon. I think it's Dungeon. On Oak Ridge. He's a mechanic, and then he opened right next to his own gym. So we kind of would work out there as well. To make a long story short, he is going on, I think, into his 60s. He's still in incredible shape. And I was just talking to him, and I just saw him actually yesterday. And we both we both stuck with working out for our entire life, which is kind of far and few between people I know. And he was talking about some other people that we worked out with over the years, how a lot of them are having health issues that I lost touch with, that he still kept in touch with. That could go for knee replacements, that could go for hip replacements, a lot of people having problems with their backs, and many different things. So, he started to have a shoulder issue, and I had shoulder issues in my past, and I kind of figured out a way, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but he had some shoulder issues, and he was able to create, his own way of healing himself. At his age, a lot of the doctors, I guess, where he was going into, it sounded like they were talking about doing different types of surgery. I went through the same thing. I tore my rotator cuff, and actually because I was so young, they didn't want to do surgery. Him being older, I guess, they were talking about doing surgery. So I don't know if he's studying to be a doctor, but it sounded like he's involved with all these different things, with fitness and with other things. And we were talking about how a lot of times people don't realize that they can heal themselves to a certain degree. Now, if you need physical therapy because you have a major problem going on, that's different. If you need medical attention, anything like that, you've been in an accident, you've been injured, or just in general, you need physical therapy, professional, I should say. That's different. You should get that. I'm definitely not telling you to neglect that. But what I am going to talk about is a lot of times when you injure yourself, especially if it isn't something major, or if it's something that you injured yourself in the past, is what I should say. And I was just recently been talking to my friend, my co-host Robert, about this too, because a lot of people get injured in their past, right? They either, if you break an arm, for instance, you get a cast, or you hurt something, you go to physical therapy for a certain amount of time, but as time goes on, you weed out of it. And you're not always the same. Sure, you may have healed to a certain degree, but there's also a lot of times where it still kind of haunts you, right? It could be for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, depending on the weather, depending on what you're doing. And I think a lot of people don't think they can heal themselves. And I believe you really can to a certain degree. Does that mean you're going to be 100%? I don't know. But I do think one thing that I've done, and I started with my shoulder when I tore my rotator cuff, is I learned this process that worked for me, getting me. And it took me a long time, even after I was done with therapy, physical therapy, and showing me all these different types of things. What I ended up doing is carrying all that with me for the next 3 decades. Like, I never stopped doing it. It became actually a part of my warm-up, stretch, and workout routine, was my actual physical therapy. I know that's excessive, but my warm-ups, if you know anything about me, are 25 minutes to a half an hour. So it's almost like I do a shoulder therapy routine before I go do anything upper body workout. Again, it's excessive, but I will say this. Me doing that, I have been able to still lift predominantly heavy weights, and I never tore it again. I also learned what was working and not working, and I cut back on a lot of things that was, I think, damaging me. For instance, it would be like playing racquetball. I was really advanced in racquetball because I played tennis throughout my life, so I was right-handed. Then when I would play all my friends, I'd go left-handed to make it fair. The thing was, I was probably tearing up my rotator cuff playing a lot of racquetball and lifting heavy weights. So after I tore my rotator cuff, I eliminated racquetball because I still liked playing. But I realized when lifting weights and, again, doing racquetball, even after I thought I, was done with all the pain and getting through it all, I could still tell something was wrong there. So I kind of gave up one or the other, and I definitely wasn't giving up weights. But back to you. If you're somebody out there who's tweaked something, first of all, if you hurt something, the one thing I always talk about is please address it immediately. If you got to go to a doctor, research it, whatever the case may be, a lot of times, it's like a toothache a lot of times in life. You may get something and it's not getting better. It's actually decaying. It's kind of like a car too. I talk about it. When the car starts to break down, most of the time out of nowhere, it just doesn't start running great. It's starting to go down. So we got to make sure we confront that as quickly as possible and try to fix it to the best of our ability. But yes, please, it could be as easy if you hurt your wrist, hypothetically. Start doing things to strengthen that wrist, even if you're not a weightlifter, even if you're not an athlete anymore. Anything to kind of address the problem, maybe build some strength. And here's the one thing I think people lose out on a lot. It's keeping that flexibility. A lot of people let things tighten up. And, I'm not going to get into all the different things about muscles and tendons and joints. I like to keep things simple. But the truth is you need to have flexibility no matter what. That doesn't mean you have to go to yoga every day. But again, I was talking to my co-host Robert with his wrist and things tightening up because he plays racquetball. He does. And I'm like, half the battle there is just getting that flexibility back. Because when he's lifting weights, he's lifting predominantly decent weight, and he's fine. But then I guess when he's playing racquetball and things in that nature. Now, here's the thing. He can build up strength to make it stronger. But then when he goes to use it a certain way, he's having pain probably, just from what I heard. And the thing is, again, he probably lost some of that flexibility. So I was even describing, do your own therapy. Work on getting it flexible. Work on maybe not just, strengthening it with weights, maybe strengthening it with just something else. I don't know what it is. It could be your grip. It literally could be something that you're not even thinking about, right? It could be not only your wrist, it could be up in your forearm area, it could be underneath, it can also be, the top of your hand can be, something is in there, and just learn how to maneuver yourself where you're working throughout that entire area, not just maybe just one specific spot as well. I snapped my ankle, I've said it a couple times this last year, in Seattle going up a hill. And it crunched. I mean, all my weight, and I got small joints, very thin, and then I'm heavier. So when I shift, all my weight goes with it, right? I cracked it, blew up as big as a softball. Now I'm still having some issues with it a year later, which is crazy because I was somebody who would recover very quickly. I would focus in on that. I would do my own physical therapy, usually not a doctor. I would stretch it. I would build around it and figure out what was working, what wasn't. I'm just a nutcase like that. And still a little swollen, but I'm working on that. Even a year later, stretching it constantly, working my, just massaging it a lot. Doing different things when I'm working out besides just calves. When I'm doing legs, I'm kind of pivoting. I'm wearing different types of shoes too to see if that's helping me with my ankle. And these are things that you may want to think about too, because there's so many things if you want to take care of your health that you could start really, taking care of. Again, if you're having, I'll just go very quickly, if you're having maybe problems with your lower back, it may be what you did previously. It may be the shoes you're wearing now. It may be the way you train. It may be because, you walk too much or a way you walk. It could be your running. It could be a lot of different things. And I discuss this a lot where a lot of people think what they're doing is healthy. Before you know it, it's unhealthy. But really learn how to do your own physical therapy. I promise you, it is well worth it. And the thing is, it takes a lot of time. Don't think it takes weeks, months. It could even take years to get back to where you were or just start strengthening what you want to strengthen, getting that flexibility, and just keep... I'll tell you, I love swimming more than anything. I call it the fountain of youth. If anything, if you do want to exercise, I would definitely start swimming, doing many different things in the water. That includes running. That includes jumping. And I don't care, even if you just got to do something very simple like water aerobics, all that stuff is really good. So I just want to do a video on this. Really pay attention to your body. Create your own physical therapy. Take your time, study, research, and understand. You need to figure out what's best for you. Even though the internet videos may say do this and this and this, it'll help you. It may not. So you have to figure out specifically how to help yourself. All right? I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, hit me with a question or a comment. Take care.